Hello everybody, this is TipTop MTG here today with a pretty big announcement from Wizards of the Coast. So today on Daily MTG, we got this article called Magic's Voyages to the Universes Beyond. And this is a big announcement. Now, I'm not saying I like the announcement. I'm going to basically give you all the information first, and then after that, I'm going to give you my opinion. So going through this, I'm just going to read what they have to say, maybe give you some information you didn't have, and so we're going to talk about this. But essentially what this is more Walking Dead cards, but not Walking Dead, just other franchises, so much so that they are making special card frames for it and giving it a alternate name. So expect enough of these for that to be worth it. So let's read through what they have to say. Earlier today, we revealed an exciting expansion of Magic the Gathering into the realms of universes beyond. So they had a Hasbro investor meeting today, and we're going to read through this article first, and then we're going to look at what they had to say about that, because not only did it reveal information about this, but it revealed information about sets coming up next year. So yeah, a series that combines the gameplay of Magic the Gathering with worlds, characters, and stories that are cherished by millions of fans around the world. Among those worlds are the expansive universes of Warhammer 40,000 and The Lord of the Rings, with others set to join as our universe beyond expands. This expansion of the Magic game system to other universes is exciting and new, and certainly raises questions for how many of our long-standing fans and brings up many questions. So today we are going to answer many of those questions as we look towards the Universes Beyond release in 2022 and further. Now, the way they word this is a little bit confusing to me. They say towards the Universe Beyond release, not Universe Beyond releases. And you're going to see why that's confusing here in a second, but just keep that in mind. And also, we see it's in 2022, so don't expect any of this stuff until next year. Universe Beyond will act as a brand within Magic the Gathering. Think Secret Lair, where it is technically a brand, not a product, where they have multiple types. They have Ultimate Edition, which is sold in stores, but they also have Secret Lairs that are sold on their website, existing in addition to and alongside our existing line of products. So nothing is being replaced, it's just more products. So people complaining about product fatigue, well, here's more for you. Universe Beyond came about thanks to a simple thought. If we can expand our story beyond the game system to things like comics, novels, and other games, then surely we can expand the system to let players explore worlds outside of the worlds of Magic. This also probably had the simple thought, and I know I said I was going to save my opinions towards the end, but it also probably had the simple thought of, we want more money, and we'll talk about that here at the end. We are all fans of these other universes. Many of us imagined what it might be like to play a game of Magic with Gandalf the Grey, sketched out how we might translate the One Ring to Magic, or wanted to build a deck around the mighty space Marins? In many ways, Universe Beyond is us living out those dreams of our own. But we also hope that Universes Beyond will bring the game we love to more people who might not have otherwise found us. We hope fans of these worlds and characters will find our game through Universes Beyond, and we hope they'll stay a while and become part of our amazing community. We know you're curious about Universes Beyond. We can't answer everything you may be asking, but we are thrilled to set the table on a number of topics today. First, Universes Beyond will be branded slightly differently and will have a specific look as a result. These are still Magic cards through and through, but the frames will be distinct and cards will have a hollow foil stamp that denotes them as being from Universes Beyond. It'll look like this. So it'll look like this, which will be slightly different at the bottom. It won't be a circle. It'll be a little bit bigger than that. Just so you know, it's exactly what it looked like on the Walking Dead cards. So if you want to take a look at those, that's what it's going to look like. If that stamp looks familiar, it's because it already existed on the Walking Dead. On that note, Universes Beyond products will generally be sold in all Magic channels. These will not be strictly Secret Lair products. The Warhammer 40,000 Commander decks, so we have confirmation of what that product is. They are going to be Commander decks, for example, will be available everywhere we currently sell Commander decks, which is kind of vague, but because it depends on which type of Commander deck you're talking about, but that's fine, as will the Lord of the Ring product. We may occasionally do assorted Secret Lair products related to the main release, like Secret Lair Godzilla lands when Ikoria came out. There will also be the occasional standalone products like Walking Dead, but the intention is to typically make Universe Beyond more available. Again, I'm going to read through this because we just have a little bit left, and then I'm going to talk about pretty much each paragraph and talk about a little bit there, but for those who just want the information, I figured I'd start with that. That said, Universe Beyond cards will not be standard legal. We strive to make Magic cards that are widely useful, So these are going to be useful cards. They're not just novelties, but Universes Beyond will be above and well beyond our normal standard releases. So nothing much is changing with our normal cadence of releases for standard. This is purely a cool thing we're doing in addition to the other cool things we're already doing. To that end, it's worth noting that the upcoming Magic set Adventures in the Forgotten Realm is not part of Universes Beyond, and we actually have a pretty cool announcement here for Adventures of the Forgotten Realm, or maybe disappointing, but a big announcement. For now, we're reserving Universes Beyond branding for worlds outside of those built by Wizards of the Coast. As to whether the Forgotten Realm cards are canonically part of Magic's multiverse, for now, the answer is no, but we may change our minds in the future if it makes sense and has a fun net positive for Magic and DD. Now, they're saying, hey, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm is not a canon story. So that means, first off, there may be story, there may not. They may say, hey, this is already a story, we don't need to make story for it. But I would not be surprised if we don't see Planeswalkers. I mean, if this is not canon to Magic, they could do one of two things. They could either take the original content and make a product off of it, which is what they're doing with Universes Beyond, or they can make their own non-canon story. So it's not canon to D&D and it's not canon to Magic. It's kind of this Elseworld story, if you're familiar with DC Comics, where it's not necessarily true of any universe. It's just a what if. And so I could see them taking that route and, adding Planeswalkers, but I could also see them not, which would be kind of weird. I believe there was only ever one set that didn't have it, being Iconic Masters. But finally, fans who have seen us try a variety of treatments for our cards featuring characters from other universes might wonder if we're utilizing the treatment of the Ikoria Godzilla cards, meaning that they're actually a real Magic card, but they have an alternate name and art. So, for instance, if they reprinted Soul Ring as, one of the ring from Lord of the Rings, it would say, whatever the name of the card was, and then underneath Soul Ring. So you could still only run 4 combinations, or you're probably playing this commander. You can only play one. You can either play the Lord of the Rings version or the normal version. But they are technically the same card, and so if they reprint it, they can reprint it as Soul Ring, so they don't have to get the rights to print it again, which we're going to talk about all my problems with this in a second here. But that's how it worked in Ikoria. It was a much, people were much more responsive to it because there was another option. But we'll, again, talk about that here in a second. Or are they going to not, like Walking Dead, where they're just exclusive cards that were sold for a week, and after that, sorry, they're really expensive now. But they said both. Whatever is more convenient for them is what I'm assuming the answer is going to be. And yes, they're exciting, and they're looking forward to sharing more details. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. First off, Warhammer 40,000 in Lord of the Rings was not my first 2 picks for things. I mean, Lord of the Rings, I think, is a little bigger. Me personally, I hadn't heard of Warhammer 40,000 before this, and I would have thought they'd do some big announcement. I mean, this one is pretty big, but, this one just feels a little bit out of place. Maybe that's just me, but looking at this, I think this announcement is very disappointing. And I think, I play Magic because I want to play Magic. I don't play Magic because I want to go play Lord of the Rings. And I know there are going to be people who like Lord of the Rings and think this is really cool, and I'm completely fine with them doing products, for instance, like the My Little Pony set or the Transformer sets that were silver bordered cards that, they had their exclusive designs. They felt like the characters, supposedly. And so, people were happy with those. You could, if you were a fan of them, you could collect them, you could use them if your playgroup allowed it. And, it was a nice novelty to have. But then they went and they said, okay, now we have these Godzilla ones. And I'm like, okay, this is still fine because I'm not being forced to play. Now, I may be forced to play against it, but, people are always altering cards, so I don't think you can really complain that, oh, I'm playing against, this one card that was painted to look like Darth Vader. That's already been a thing. So, outside of the fact that the Godzilla box top wasn't an actual card, I was completely fine with that. Then we get to Walking Dead, and Walking Dead had a lot of problems with it. First off, they were exclusive cards that were legal in formats, and they weren't cards that were other cards just skinned. I think people would have been much more fine with that. On top of it, it was part of Secret Lair, meaning it would be very, very difficult for people to get these if they didn't order them within a week. And it kind of created this FOMO, or fear of missing out, that people were like, I need to buy this or else. And so it told Wizards, hey, this is the most successful Secret Lair ever, because people were worried about not being able to get these cards later, because if one of them becomes really popular, you can expect that to be one of the most expensive cards in Magic, not on the reserve list. And so, that kind of happened. Now, one nice thing they're saying here is that they're trying to make it more like normal, products. So you might see a Lord of the Rings full set. Like what would be Modern Horizons is now Lord of the Rings. And me personally, I don't like that idea. I mean, I'm fine if you want to do a secret layer that has alternate art and named cards. That's already pushing it a little bit in my opinion, but to say, hey, you are playing these formats and you have to use this. So for instance, let's say they do print Gandalf, and may I mention one thing I really, really, really want to point out. They say in here that they are not legal in Standard. And that is fine. I would be wildly concerned if they were legal in Standard. But you'll notice they don't say they are not legal in Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Historic, any of that. They didn't say they're only legal in Commander, where in Commander you can kind of just rule 0, which is you make the rules. You can kind of just say, no, we don't allow any of this thing. They're all banned. But no, they just said it's not Standard legal. So for all we know, we're going to get a Lord of the Rings set that's legal in Modern. Now, let's imagine Gandalf the Grey, one of the chase mythics in the set, is now one of the most powerful cards in Modern, an Uro level card. Now you're having Gandalf the Grey decks. And that just, it's fine as a supporting card that you might see in a couple people's Commander decks, but I think when you start introducing them to those more serious formats, as Modern and Pioneer and Legacy and Vintage are more serious, I mean, those already have them, but Pioneer and Modern and maybe even Historic, as you start introducing them into those, I feel like you have a problem. Now, they haven't said they're doing that, and, the Warhammer decks are Commander decks, so we know that those are going to be Legacy, Vintage, and Commander legal. Is it all that? I don't remember. They're legal in at least 2 formats. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just wish they weren't exclusive cards. Now, let's take a quick look over at their Hasbro report. So they have a whole thing about Wizards of the Coast. So essentially they say they're halfway to doubling their revenue by 2023 from 2018, which means they're right about on target. And their revenue was up $816 million in a year where organized play was not a thing. So, that's good, you could say, but it also means that they're kind of getting more greedy in a way. Magic the Gathering revenue was up 23% and Dungeons & Dragons was up 33%, which, both good. And then digital gaming license, that doesn't really matter. Then they said that there's a couple launches. So first off, Magic the Gathering Arena on mobile. Yeah, we know about that. Free-to-play action RPG Magic Legends. We knew about that. I'm going to be covering in the channel. I did not know about Spellslingers, but that is also a mobile app coming out soon. Now let's take a look here. Increasing the number of Magic the Gathering Premier card sets from 5 to 6, including Modern Horizons 2 in June 2021. First off, we now have the announcement. Modern Horizons 2 coming June 2021. That was not announced previously. Second, the number of Premier card sets going from 5 to 6. I think a big part of this is probably Time Spiral Remastered, which if you look at the copyright says 2020, so it was very clearly intended to come out last year, but they pushed it. So, we are getting more Premier sets. So not only, I don't know necessarily what this Premier card set is referring to. Are they including Standard products? Because if they are, then they're referring to the 5 Standard sets this year and Modern Horizons. But we know there's Time Spiral Remastered, which they might say is a reprint set or a supplemental set. But I just find it weird. Are they just calling this the 5 Standard sets and Modern Horizons, which would account for the 6 sets, or are they saying these are 6 non-standard sets? Because that's a lot. And then they also announced the Magic Universe things, which they say they are going to be new collectible and social play opportunities. They do say social play, not competitive play, so maybe they'll do something interesting with that. But yeah, I am not a huge fan of this announcement. I think that forcing people to play with things that are outside of Magic the Gathering is really poor. I think you do run into some issues, especially with something like Walking Dead, where kids play Magic, and Walking Dead is not particularly a kid-friendly franchise. So if they start doing things like that, you start being like, oh, this kid is playing with cards that maybe aren't appropriate. And that's one problem. We also have the problem of, being forced to not play Magic, to play Lord of the Rings, the card game with Magic rules. And I wish these were silver bordered or they had their own format. I wish they didn't say we're adding these to existing format. What if they said, vintage plus or vintage third party where you can use these? And I understand that you can house rule things, but in tournaments, if there's some really good card in here, you're going to be seeing that card. And I think it's a really disappointing thing. And I'm all for, trying to get new players into the game. And I think those silver bordered products are a way to do it. Commander is the most popular format. To say, hey, we're doing silver bordered this, and, just talk to your play group, you might be able to play your cards. And I know that would make them sell less because, people are going to buy this just because what if a card is good? I just really dislike it. I think that it's greedy. I think that it's horribly transparent. They are not doing this because they think, oh, it's so cool. They're doing it because, hey, we can attract other customers. And that's all they're doing it for. I want to know your guys' opinion on this in the comments down below. I am horribly disappointed. When I first saw it, I thought maybe that they were going to talk about because, you read this and you're like, Magic's Voyages to Universes Beyond. I'm like, ooh, is this some sort of TV show or something really cool? No, it's disappointing. I hate being this pessimistic, but it's just another reason to dislike Magic the Gathering. I feel like they've made a lot of bad steps, and in the past, I think one of their worst steps was when they talked about Secret Lair of the Walking Dead, where they said, yeah, we know most of the players hated the product at a fundamental level, but it was our most profitable thing, so we're doing it again, is what they said. Not even joking, that's what they said. And so I don't think any amount of, voicing your opinion is really going to do anything if you think this is bad, because they're going to say, well, actually, this made us a lot of money. So I think this is something that I think is horribly wrong. I think that it takes away from the game at a fundamental level. There are players who literally dedicate everything to the lore of Magic the Gathering, and you're basically saying, we don't care about that anymore. And we've seen that. The lore has gone down, and as they're like, oh, our lore sucks, they're also introducing, oh, let's use other people's stuff. I just think this was just a horrible mistake. I hope that this gets canceled, but they've already signed contracts with Warhammer and Lord of the Rings, so that's happening. I just hope they see this and take a step back, but what's going to happen? Warhammer 40,000 is going to come out. It's going to be one of their best-selling Commander decks ever, and then they're going to do it. And you're going to be like, well, if it's the best-selling, doesn't that mean people want it? Well, not necessarily. I mean, let's not even get into the fact that reprinting these cards is going to be impossible. Commander decks are not printed forever. No set is printed forever. It's print to demand a lot of sets, but let's say Warhammer 40,000 has a really awesome card. Let's force a negation level, card, which Fierce Guardianship was in a Commander deck, and it's an expensive card. But, you can kind of have the hope that, oh, they're going to reprint this. But you have a, Lord of the Ring card, and it becomes a really, really, really powerful and popular card, and then, oh, oops, you can't just put a random Lord of the Rings card in a reprint set. You have to either reprint the whole product or go get probably a new I hope they thought of this. Go get a new contract with them. But I think this just causes so many problems. I would not be surprised if you go on Reddit soon and you're just like, I'm quitting the game. Or not you, but lots of people who are doing that. Again, I hate being this negative, and I know I'm kind of harping on the same point, but just go back to my videos about, The Walking Dead and all this, and I've shared the same sentiment, and I think a lot of people share the same sentiment. And the fact that Wizards just doesn't seem to care, and they're like, oh, we need new players, but they're also saying we don't care about the old ones. And those players who come in from other formats, yes, you are going to get a couple of them that are like, ooh, I really like this, but it seems like something that's going to be a temporary growth. Like, they're going to get a lot of money from these products, but then the core Magic player base is going to start falling. Those people who do spend all the money on their collector boosters, these players who are coming in for these Lord of the Ring things, are not going to be going and buying $30 boosters. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're trying to replace the player base, with new ones who don't complain about how things used to be. I mean, if you get introduced through Lord of the Rings, you're like, oh, collector boosters, set boosters, theme boosters, draft boosters. Those are all just normal things. So maybe they are trying to kind of rotate people out, people who are more fine with this third-party thing. And they're basically saying we're taking Magic from less of a game, or less of a, I don't want to say culture, but less of a a thing, a standalone product, and more of a game. And obviously Magic is a game, but I just think this is the wrong direction to go. I think you're better off creating better sets, reprinting cards people want, rather than going and saying, hey, we're going to create more artificial scarcity and make people play with cards that they don't want to and break the immersion. Because you know what? You may be able to personally say, I don't want to play with this, but your opponent is more than capable of playing this, and I just really dislike this choice. Either way, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I know I kind of rambled on there, but I just think this is one of the worst moves that they have made, I would say, this year. Yeah, this year, and maybe even last. It's just completely awful. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. I'm going to be doing Time Spiral Remastered spoilers coming out a little bit later today, so stay tuned for those. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.